And welcome back, team, to yet another episode of Daily Chaos on one of your new favorite channels, Comfort and Chaos. So thank you guys already for tuning in, clicking, being present today. If you're new to the channel, please do not hesitate to hit that subscribe button, be part of the team, and then be here for more future chaos as we continue to embark it and find comfort in it in our own fashion, in our own special way. And as you guys already know, my esteemed co-host, Mr. Will El Mayo. What's up, buddy?
What's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
You know, just another day in paradise. You know, cheers, salud. I see you got Buffalo Trace. Did we start off with our Buffalo Trace shout out? Shout out Buffalo Trace, guys. Helps you find comfort in chaos every
Buffalo
day
Trace.
in every way.
It's what's keeping me fucking sane these days.
It's what keeps senior leaders in the military going.
And the retired ones
and the retired ones too.
Need
Shout out, bro.
Sanity.
So, Will, let's get right into it, man. I'm sure you guys are tracking. A lot has gone down this week. A lot has been going down. You know, the DNC just wrapped up.
Yep.
We finally, if you guys saw the last episode, now some policies have been, you know, in a way, you know, but the lay of the land has kind of like, now there's a focal point there. Something was put out where what their intent is, you know. But there's definitely there's so much to tackle, guys, but we kind of labeled it into some things that just kind of really stood out to us. All right. But what are your thoughts, Will?
Yeah, man. So I think absolutely chaotic week. Like you said, DNC wrapping up. I think we're on day 34, 35 maybe of zero real questions being presented to the Democratic nominee for president of the United States.
I mean, I don't know what your thoughts were of the DNC. You know, I just thought that it was like, you know, and maybe it just seemed like just a Trump hate fest. You know, it didn't really seem like it was like, hey, let's bring all these famous people. All these people. And the funny one, and I got to give Trump props. Like the dude, he's a troll. He's a natural troll.
1000%.
He knows what he's doing. And, you know, I respect that humor in the military. You already know. I mean, we respect that humor. You know, it's funny. It keeps us going, keeps morale up sometimes. But the Oprah Winfrey one, you know, she went up, did all this thing, and all of a sudden he's posted this letter that she hand wrote to him.
Yeah. Begging him to run for president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just that gives you an idea of like, okay, what do you guys truly stand on and what runs this? Like, I don't know. Politicians are politicians in my book, but Will, what are your thoughts, dude?
Yeah. I mean, zero realistic policy. What are they actually running on? They're still running on joy, vibes, and a hatred for their opponent. And they're not really presenting any real policy on how they will govern the country. And we'll kind of get into it tonight with some of the things that they have kind of geared themselves up for, and one of the few policy points that has kind of been released. But it's very, very interesting. Like you said, a lot going on this week. Earlier tonight, right, that the only third party candidate really that even stood a chance of getting on some of the ballots dropped out and is now vowing support for Trump.
I saw that.
Yeah, and a lot of that. And
big news. Do you think that truly affects though anything?
I do, and I think we'll definitely have to talk about that on a later episode. I think it's very fresh right now, and some of the analytical points are still kind of being flushed out of what this actually looks like. So I think
awesome, in the future, man. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that. Hey guys, make sure you stay tuned. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, hit it nice and hard. All right, just nice and hard, and be ready.
Still growing, brother.
Exactly. And be ready for
Round
that next
4.
episode, especially because I'm curious. Now I'm curious. I'm ready to hear what Will's got to say. You know, he's a smart man. All
Yeah,
right. He's up in the hilltops of Colorado, an undisclosed location with screens. You're not seeing it right now, but in front of him, he's got like 10 screens. You know,
I'm in the fucking Matrix, man. Like,
he's
this is all I do
literally
all
in
day.
this live footage all over of all different outlets, media outlets from all over the world. He's just watching them all in his bunker. All right, dude. Hey, I noticed. So one of the big hot topics I know that we want to talk about was this.
God.
What was it? A nuclear policy they're putting out, or explain this?
Yeah, man. So this is some super interesting stuff here. And, you know, it kind of made a little bit of news and a little bit of rumblings, but it's largely kind of been uncovered. So this is one of the interesting things that I definitely want to talk about tonight. So it was really on Wednesday. Beijing came out and said it was seriously concerned after President Biden had updated America's nuclear employment guidance to focus on the threat from China. And that was according to the New York Times. So if you don't know what we're talking about, what this is the U.S. nuclear policy towards kind of what the U.S. government needs to focus on. Now, this is a extremely classified document.
Ooh.
I am talking so it's up now, it's updated every 4-ish years, right? So it was due for an update. And this policy document, right, is only on paper. It is not in an electronic means, and there is only a handful of people that have even seen it. Right. So the fact that it leaked in itself is a little concerning. Right.
Yeah.
Now the document itself, as reported, is now shifting our nuclear policy to focus less on the Soviets and more towards China. So that obviously has pissed off Beijing, right?
Oh yeah. Obviously. Do you think they had ties with that or some type of involvement towards that leakage? I mean,
no, I think that right, it's a leaky house right now. And that's actually uncommon for the Biden administration. It really is. They haven't leaked a lot.
That is true. That is true.
Administration, especially when you start comparing it to the last Trump administration and then Obama before that. Trump was a completely leaky ship. And nobody could keep anything secret. In that
somebody need to give that guy a tart break for something.
For real. And like everybody inside that administration was just leaking like crazy. Biden has been so controlled. So that was kind of interesting. But the U.S. nuclear weapon stockpile has kind of come under increased scrutiny against that backdrop of rising tensions with rival nuclear armed nations, Russia, as well as China. And according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, Russia currently has about 4,380 nuclear weapons, and that's against our 3,700 nuclear weapons, and about 500 for China. Now, Beijing is understood to be rapidly increasing its nuclear arsenal, and the U.S. military estimates that it could have over 1,000 nuclear weapons by the year 2030. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting, right?
Ooh.
We are changing some apparently nuclear policy. Hopefully not, but we've got some gang of the nukes. What? This is wild, man. So a nuclear policy expert appointed to the Department of Energy underneath the Biden administration in February of 2024 had previously co-authored an article entitled "Queering Nuclear Weapons." Queering nuclear weapons.
What? How? Huh?
She argued that queer theory should be used to inform American nuclear policy. I'm going to pause for a second to go scream into the fucking void and drink heavily.
What in the world? Hey, I'm pausing with you. I'm scratching my head while I'm doing this because this, huh? I mean, is
Yeah.
this the equivalent to during World War II when they would write messages and paint pictures on bombs that they're dropping over Berlin? Like, you know, I don't know.
Not quite. So Sheena Nair, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, so I apologize to Miss Sheena Nair, or however you say it. So she works as the special assistant at the National Nuclear Security Administration.
Wow. What level of clearance do you think she has?
TSSCI with probably Q and a few other letters after that.
Oh man. Okay.
So that's the agency, right, responsible for maintaining the safety and security of America's extensive arsenal of nuclear weapons. Now, she co-authored a piece titled "Queering Nuclear Weapons: How LGBTQ plus IA 7639J6, whatever the fuck we're on now, inclusion strengthens security and reshapes disarmament," which was published in 2023 by an influential bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, which is a magazine that focuses on threats to humanity from emerging technologies.
Atomic scientist.
Yep. In the article, argued queer theory. In their article, they argued queer theory, which is defined as a field of study closely related to feminist theory that explains sex and gender based norms, can help change how nuclear practitioners, experts, and the public think about nuclear weapons. They continued that queer theory also identifies how the nuclear weapons discourse is
Wow.
gendered. It's
Wow.
gendered. And that nuclear deterrence is associated with rationality and security, while disarmament and justice for nuclear weapon victims. Are we talking about the last time we nuked a country?
I mean, technically, we're the only country to nuke a country.
Yeah.
So, where are the comparisons?
Yeah.
I don't.
But the nuclear weapon victims are coded as emotion and the lack of understanding for the real mechanics of security. So,
I wonder if she's ever been to a gun range.
I'm gonna guess
Like,
no.
if she even owns a firearm, a little security, self-defense. I don't know. She looks like a rather young, very good-looking woman. Probably lives in a big
I don't
city
think you can say
somewhere.
that. I don't think you can say that.
Okay, I'm curious. That's all. I'm not judging her for if she does or doesn't. I
was talking about the woman-man part. I don't think you can.
Say
that.
I'm sorry. A very good-looking person. But obviously with a huge responsibility. But I mean, is she talking about painting rainbows on these things? I don't know.
Yeah, right. So heavy into nuclear disarmament, which okay, like that would be a perfect world.
That would be, but good luck.
That would be great. But can you imagine what our enemies on the foreign international scale,
Yeah.
right? Like can you imagine how they are laughing right now? Like this is what they're doing. Like
this is what you guys are focused on right now.
This is
I mean, and then is there going to be funding involved? Is this going to be in the budget now? Like, is there going to be a budget proposal and educational awareness proposal and money for that? Like, there's so much that comes into play with that behind the scenes. I don't know. I'm just like, we live in a world where obviously you would think, okay, hey, I have this fancy little phone here that can basically do everything. But you think these companies are going to stop there? You think the world's going to stop here? I mean, you think it could stop here? No, it's not going to stop. It's not. I mean, that to me, I see that as like, dude, that's just how this world functions. That's a world thing. That's not an American thing. That's just the world. We come up with something. Our adversaries come up with something to counter that and then make it bigger. And then what do? We come up with something to counter that. And, and that's just what are you going to do? All of a sudden say, hey, everybody, time out. Everything's good. Let's just stay right here.
I mean, it's building towards a world that I think we all wish we could live in, but I
Yeah.
think it completely negates reality, and it
Yeah.
makes
It's
me want to
all
drink
that you're living in a
heavily
theory,
this whiskey.
Yeah. I'm going to pause and do the same. But at that point, it's like, dude, what are we doing? We're just living in a theory. Like, this isn't like, okay, we come up with a theory. And now that's the way of life. And it's not, because that's not going to happen. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry to bust your guys' bubble. That never will happen. It won't. I don't see that happen. In a perfect world, would I like it to happen? Sure.
A girl can dream. A girl can
But
dream.
yes, I mean, get your name out there. Cheers. Good job.
No. No.
Yeah, well, you're good, dude. You're in your bunker in that undisclosed location, somewhere high in the mountains. So you're good.
I need to dig deeper to get away from those gay nukes.
Yes. Watch out, guys. Don't mess with us or you'll get nuked by the gays.
It brings new meaning to the word penetrating nuke.
This nuke is brought to you by Abercrombie and Fitch. Enjoy it.
It's going to penetrate deep.
And it's coming at you hard.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty crazy, man. Hey, guys, let us know what your thoughts are on that. Please, by all means, comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. I'm curious to know what you guys think about that, or even if you guys were even tracking that. I'm pretty sure not a lot of you were probably even tracking that. That's not something that's just widely put out there.
Yeah.
But the whole other thing is, if you guys didn't pay attention to it, one thing sticks out though. This is a highly classified program, highly classified document, as you heard Will say. And by that getting leaked, now there are a whole level of things that are supposed to happen that I'm pretty sure, I hope, are happening. I mean, there's some contingencies. I mean, there's a lot that's supposed to come in play. There's even some people obviously it's a simple security violation of one, but now there's it should be looked into. It should, I can't confirm if it is, but, or how it's being handled, but honestly, Will, I don't think we'll ever know, I don't think we'll ever know, but that is still an action and behavior that could be detrimental to the integrity of our own defense, towards foreign adversaries, and we do have them. Regardless, we do have them.
Sure. Yeah. It really announced, right, our plans, which, that you don't want someone else knowing your plans. And I mean, it is what it is at this point. It's out there. The White House hasn't really confirmed it. But the fact that leaked is a little concerning.
Yeah, it is. And I don't like the way it makes us look. That's the other thing. I don't like the way that makes us look.
Well, there's the document itself, and then there's the gay nuke thing, and it's almost two separate things.
There's just a lot of it that just
brought attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay. All right, man. What do you got? What's the next one? What do you got next?
So, right, we kind of briefly talked about Kamala Harris really not answering any major questions for 30 plus days, but there was a little bit of someone journalisming actually did their fucking job a little tiny bit.
Hey, congratulations.
Asked Kamala Harris how she was going to pay for all of these things that have kind of been slowly leaked out. Specifically the $25,000 for new homeowners.
Yeah.
And then the $6,000 for child tax credit, which they kind of stole from Vance, who had said, "Hey, we'll do 5,000." They came out and said 6,000. So
hey, we'll do 6,000.
But so as she was boarding, to go to one of her rallies, a journalist asked Kamala Harris, "Hey, like, how are you going to pay for that?" And very interesting answer. where she just kept talking about return on investment, and I don't think she knows what that means. So
let's see this.
We can take a look at that.
Let her words speak for themselves here.
I mean, you just look at it in terms of what we are talking about, for example, around children and the child tax credit and extending the EITC. It's at $6,000 for the first year of a child's life. The return on that investment in terms of what that will do and what it will pay for will be tremendous. We've seen it when we did it in the first year of our administration. We reduced child poverty by over 50%. And then what we're doing in terms of the tax credits, we know that there's a great return on that investment. And when we increase home ownership in America, what that means in terms of increasing the tax base, not to mention property tax base, what that does to fund schools, again, return on investment. I think it's a mistake for any person who talks about public policy to not critically evaluate how you measure the return on investment. When you are strengthening neighborhoods, strengthening communities, and in particular the economy of those communities, and investing in a broad-based economy, everybody benefits, and it pays for itself.
So, about that.
Hey, I'm here to tell you about a
Whoa. Hey, what are you going to tell us?
Yeah, what are you going to tell us about that?
Yeah, so, I mean, first of all, and we can talk about this on another episode, but I just read an article today saying that obviously her plan to balance out or increase the home buyers market, the homeowners market, is she gonna raise capital gains tax?
Yeah, so
to like 44%.
Yeah, that's one. So there's two things. One, I don't think she understands what return on investment is. Let's start there because she just kept saying it, and this is what happens when Kamala Harris gets off a fucking teleprompter.
What can be?
She just starts word vomiting things that she has zero fucking clue about.
Yeah.
As evidenced by her previous presidential campaign run. And to be fair, right? You look at Donald Trump, who just goes on 96-minute fucking tirades of random thought. That dude just wants to strangle a teleprompter.
Yeah.
And he just disagrees with a teleprompter, whatever it tells him. And then you got Kamala Harris, who's just like, if she gets off a teleprompter, is like, I don't understand.
What can be?
It just starts rambling as well. So that's great. So the whole right. Hey, I'm gonna essentially give $25,000 to new time home buyers, which is just gonna jack up the market. And absolutely wreck it. Her basic comeback to that was return on investment, i.e., I'm going to increase property taxes for everyone, which is going to put people out of their homes.
Oh yeah,
and that's great. But so then, right? The one kind of policy thing, other than she's going to be tough on the, I'm sorry, I can't fucking even get it out of my mouth without laughing. Yeah. She's going to be tough on the border because that was mentioned a bunch during the DNC. That's laughable at best.
Okay.
The borders
I have my own opinion on that one. And you guys heard me.
We're just going to put that in a box.
Yeah.
So her policy piece was basically to back up what Biden has already pushed, which is largely a complete non-starter and absolutely fucking terrifying when you start talking about capital gains. You start talking the craziest thing is the tax on unrealized gains. And we've got a little video of an economist actually kind of evaluating some of this here. And I think it's very, very interesting. We'll take a look at that.
Political pundits tear apart the economic policies on both camps this election year. Economists agree the out-of-control federal deficit has to be a priority, and critics say government spending is what got us here. So joining us now to discuss this and more is Vice President of General Economics and Trade at the Cato Institute. Welcome to the National Desk again. Good morning to you, Scott.
Morning.
The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget calculates the Harris campaign's new economic agenda would increase the deficit by $1.7 trillion over the next decade. So lowering costs for hardworking American families isn't actually lowering costs at all in the end. So to pay for it, at least some of it, she says she's going to increase corporate taxes from 21 to 28%. What effect would this have on the economy and for American families, Scott?
Wow.
Well, you got to start with the debt, which is now around 100% of the U.S. economy and GDP. It's only going to go higher from here, according to the Congressional Budget Office. So even more spending is just another log on that fire. And when you have that debt, you crowd out private investment. You maybe boost inflation or interest rates, and you maybe even lead to a debt crisis.
Yeah. So real quick, right? When we start talking about increasing corporate tax rate, right? So that is an additional 7+% that company has got to pay out to the government.
Yep.
Right. Which is already taxing them. It's already taxing us. It's already taxing what we buy. It's taxing every little tidbit of thing that we do. Right. So they're going to increase that. What do you think that does to a company?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they got to make money somehow, right?
Like you talk about like companies reinvesting into themselves and their ability to take their capital and build a new store and create additional revenue, right? Provide additional services to communities, provide jobs, not just the jobs of the store, the construction, the warehousing, the
overhead, everything,
right? It destroys that
crisis down the road. So to pay for it, they're going to raise taxes, as Democrats like to do. But that's not only going to make the United States one of the highest corporate tax jurisdictions in the industrialized world, which would discourage businesses from locating here or maybe push some offshore. But it would also cut investment by companies already in the United States and maybe reduce wage growth because companies are going to be spending more cash to the government and less on their businesses and on their workers.
She's also been talking about, of course, the federal government controlling pricing here through a myriad of these policy proposals. The first is groceries, which you have said nearly every economist agrees blaming price gouging and corporate profiteering for grocery inflation is crazy. What are the facts?
Yeah, well, the facts are hard to parse because the Harris campaign won't release any details. But what we do know is bad enough. We know that grocery inflation is eased. We know that profit margins in the industry are low. New competitors like Amazon and Walmart are entering every day. We know that grocers are actually lowering prices now as the economy cools and consumers pull back. And we know from all sorts of analyses that past grocery inflation wasn't driven by profiteering, but by market factors, including massive fiscal and monetary stimulus here. And then finally, we know that past anti-gouging legislation, stuff that Vice President Harris has supported, would only make things worse, leading to shortages and other problems that are typically associated with price control. So it's just a very bad.
And also, it's important economists have pointed out that what she is proposing is vastly different than anti-gouging state laws, which only apply during federal emergencies like natural disasters. Now, the same.
Yeah, so I'm sure you've seen a bunch of talking points, right, on this price gouging thing. It's wild, man. It's super wild, right? Like we're entering into Venezuela, Russia, North Korea territory of price control, rent control, and
yeah, right, man,
it's perpetuated by people who have a fundamental misunderstanding of basic economics. Everybody keeps touting, oh, well, Walmart, Target, all these big corporations have hit record profit. Well, no shit. No shit, because prices have gone up due to inflation, right?
Yep.
When you have supply demand discrepancies, and we talked about this a little bit last time, if I remember
Yep.
correctly, right? When you have those discrepancies, right, what happens? Prices go up, right? So what happens? The store has to charge more money. Overall profits
Yep.
for the company, right, then hit record highs. But that doesn't mean that their margins are hitting record highs.
Yep.
Like
Exactly.
it's mind-blowing, like how the Democrats are blaming this on corporations. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure that there's some. How do you fix that? You fix that in a free fucking market that allows competitors to come in and charge less.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Not doing price controls, which is going to destroy
That's the
this
exact opposite. That's the
destroy
exact opposite.
businesses and
No, I
create way worse
totally
economic
agree.
conditions, especially in rural and underserved communities. And even the fucking economists for the Biden or I'm sorry, for the Obama administration came out was like, this is fucking insane. Like, this is
You
not
guys
going to
are
work.
crazy. Did you
This is
not
not
go
going to work.
to economics in school? Like, this is basic. This is level 1 economics, supply and demand.
And then when we start talking about the tax on unrealized gains, right? So if you don't know what that means let's say you have a stock, or let's say you buy a house, right? You
Yeah.
buy a house for simplistic sake. We're going to say you buy a house for $100,000. Okay.
Mhm.
All of a sudden your house, right? You as the market changes, right, is now worth $200,000
Because of equity. Exactly.
not because of equity, because the
Well,
market changed, right? So
the market
in
changed, so the
theory, your
value
house,
adjusted.
you're right, but you haven't sold your house yet. You haven't made any money,
Yeah.
right? What the tax on unrealized gains is that means that they want to tax on the difference of what you could sell for. So they want to tax you up to 25%. Now, on that unrealized gains, meaning, right, like you had a house worth $100,000, you paid $100,000 for it. Your house is evaluated, and really, this is more for stocks. Your company, right? Your company,
Yeah.
in this case, right? We're just using the house analogy.
Mhm.
But your thing is now worth, in theory, more money. If you sold it today, it'd be worth more money. We're going to tax you on that difference. Right? You haven't sold it yet. You haven't made any money on it.
Yeah.
That could go down. It could absolutely crater.
Yeah. And what that obviously is going to lead to is you're going to see all of you who wanted to buy a house or desire to buy a house, or are kids who want to buy a house. Good luck, because all those homeowners now, they're going to hold on to their assets.
Yeah. So here's the really interesting
Or
part,
they're
right?
going to pay almost an increase. So that $100,000 house is now going to be sold. The price is going to be up on probably about 300.
No, you won't invest, period, right? Or you're going to bankrupt an organization, right, that is already on potentially low margins. Now, this is really for when you look at the policy as it's presented, and again, it's pretty much a non-starter when it hits Congress. Like, that would have to go through Congress. It's almost a non-starter, but it's a very slippery fucking slope. The policy as presented now is really for the ultra rich, multimillionaires, right? Millions of dollars in stock. But what that does is it forces them to either A, not invest, B, pull out of the country and go invest, right?
Take your money elsewhere.
Right. I'm going to take my money somewhere else. I'm not going to invest. And I'm sure shit and not going to let the government take 25% of an unrealized gain, meaning I haven't sold that stock. I haven't sold that thing. That's not real money. That's theoretical. And so even if you're doing all of the right things, and God forbid, right? I hope one day I've done all the right things and, my retirement account hits in the millions. That would be fucking wonderful, right? Wouldn't it, for us all? However, if I start getting taxed on that, that's a major fucking problem when I haven't seen a dime of that money.
Yep.
It's not real money until I've sold it, because tomorrow the market could take a shit or the things that I've invested in fail, and then I don't have that money either. So why am I going to participate in a market and invest in innovation, invest in organizations and companies that I think are great, when the government's just going to come take a chunk of that before that's even
before you even sold.
realized? It's called unrealized gain tax, and it's fucking terrifying.
Damn,
I need more whiskey.
that's scary, Will. I'm scared now. How do I find comfort in this chaos, Will?
Buffalo Trace.
Thank you, Buffalo Trace. You know what? I'm gonna do just
like
that.
you vote, right? Like
No, guys.
right.
I don't care who you guys vote for, but please tell me. I hope you guys are making an educated decision or just focusing on your circle. I always tell you guys.
Here's what you can do. You can demand your media. You can demand the people, right, that should be asking these real tough questions and kind of parsing through this for everyone. Hey, what does this mean for the average person, right? As presented, you're talking about the ultra rich getting the shit taxed out of them. Okay, like, okay.
There's a trickle down
why?
effect.
Because you're talking about increasing government subsidies and government programs, welfare programs, handing out other people's money. And that doesn't work. Like, it's been proven throughout history that socialist, communist type agenda doesn't
work.
Doesn't work. It never has.
Yeah. And that's pretty scary to think about, and I really do hope this election is not based off emotion. I hope I'm not seeing a lot of emotion decisions out there. I hope you guys are really valuing your circles. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I just hope that when you do, you're really focused on yourself and the welfare of your family, your circles, your own wallet. How's it going to affect your wallet, and just know, okay, hey, here's some facts. Go off the data. I did a big data analysis myself. And when I'm like looking, okay, you're going to raise capital gains. Now, I didn't know about the unrealized capital gains ones, but I did know that there is an effect now with a rise that she wants to raise the capital gains tax. And that just affects the real estate market as a whole, because then with the rise in capital gains tax, that means your home owners now are not going to want to sell. Or if they do, they're going to have to jack up that price because they have to somewhat level out and to come up with a profit. Or otherwise, they're not going to be able to buy their next house because they're already going to buy another house that already has an elevated price because they have to make the capital gains on that as well. So it affects the whole thing. I did some research. So right now, currently in the United States, there's 1.7 million homes for sale on the market now. 1.7. It's one of the lowest. It's the lowest. It hasn't been like this since 2009 was the last time it was this low. And because obviously the home market right now is insane. You have the supply and demand. No one's wanting to buy a home right now. There's too much. And when you have a candidate who's running on, okay, hey, we're going to give you some more money here, but we're going to raise the capital gains up to 44%. Capital gains up to 44%. I'm telling you right now, well, as a homeowner, if I'm going to sell my house, guess what that means? They're going to, my broker is going to tell me, hey, if you want to make some money on this with the equity that you earn, the equity that you put into your mortgage, you're going to have to, hey, your $200,000 house is now going to have to be raised up to $350,000, and you can't take anything lower.
Yeah. I mean,
so you're going to see all the homeowners, you're going to see all the wealthy, the upper class are just, they're going to hold tight to their assets. You already know now, Will, they're already talking about the baby boomers are basically looking down at us and laughing at us, that boomer generation, because, they bought their house at like a 1 point something interest rate, 1.7, 1.8,
Sure.
Interest rate. Now look at the interest rates. Average is 7% right now.
Well, that's about to change because of the really wild job market overinflation that just happened. But we can talk about that on another episode.
That's going to have to be another episode.
God
Job market. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, like the way I see it, right? We've got an administration, right, that is trying to project itself as a change to what is currently happening, that has been in power 12 out of the last 16 years. If you're happy with the way that things have been going after the last 12 out of the 16 years, okay. God
there
bless
you go.
Like, there you
That's
go.
and data doesn't lie. Let's like you just said right there. That's an important fact that people should analyze. If your party has literally, look at the facts, look at the data. Your party's had control for 12 years,
and they're promising to change things.
And now all of a sudden they're promising. And it's like, it's the same thing. I spoke about this about the border, and I was like, check it out, dude. You're in a position now. You have placement access to influence a lot of this change that you're running on. What have you done? What have you done the past 3 years?
Yeah. And
now all of a sudden you're like, oh, we're going to control this, control. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask those questions. Well, what have you done?
Yeah.
What have you done? I'm curious to know, because you've had the placement access. You've been in a position to influence decision making that can help you on your run. It doesn't make sense, Will. It doesn't make sense to me.
And look, I get it from the aspect of, right, this is a vibe, feelings election, right? It is orange man
it's
bad,
emotional,
which
it's all about emotion.
I'm not a fan of Trump on a personal level, like, not at all, not one tiny bit. But I think when you look at policy wise, what is causing more chaos within the country, and from a foreign policy perspective, who has a better take on where we should take the country? I have my own opinions. I see both sides of it. I think that we are in a point where we need to start looking at policy and where things are going.
They're not ready for that, Will.
Nope.
They want to see Beyonce. They want to see Taylor Swift. They don't want policy. They need to see some TikTok influencers.
They couldn't get Beyonce. Apparently,
I thought they were trying.
They were trying, allegedly. They said they had her, and then it didn't happen. Their special guest last night was Kamala Harris. Cool.
Oh man, sometimes, Will, I feel like I'm just, somebody wake me up. Is this real? Like, wake me up. I don't know. I don't know, man. It is what it is. Hey, Will, how do we find comfort in this chaos?
You know what, man? Get out there, stay informed.
That's right.
And I want everybody to remember, my closing thoughts. Hey, an empty browser history tells far more than a full browser history.
Ooh.
So just keep that in mind.
All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I hope this was informative. I hope you guys learned something here. And if you did, please definitely hit that subscribe button. Be part of the team. As you know, we got some other stuff coming down the road. We'll kind of segue into it. I'm curious. A lot of stuff happened today regarding RFK, and we're going to talk about that next episode for sure. So be ready for that. And then some other chaos that happened as well. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thanks for being present, team. Hit that like button, share it. If you know somebody else can benefit from this, or even if they have an opinion, don't hesitate to comment down below. Hit the subscribe button, hit it nice and hard, and look out for those gay nukes. All right. Look out for those gay nukes. I'll see you guys on the next one, team. Out.